Hi, I'm Jennet Ingle, the 5 Minute Reedmaker. If you're watching this on YouTube, would you please go ahead and click subscribe for me? That way, you always know when I drop a new episode, and it becomes easier for other people to find my channel and to become better reedmakers and happier musicians. Thank you. I wanted to talk today about the difference between English horn air and oboe air. This is one of those Reedmaker episodes where I'm not talking about reeds, not at all. When I'm coaching people, when I'm teaching people on the oboe and in the English horn, one of the first questions I often ask them is, where do you perceive your air is coming from? Now, this is a metaphorical question in a lot of ways, right? Because our air is coming from the same place. It's always coming from our lungs. But very often, I see people perform, and they appear to be a normal human being as they talk and interact with me, and then they put the oboe to their lips and then they go, they're shut their whole upper body down, and they really only access the air that is north of their own collarbones. So I encourage them on the oboe to bring the air lower, 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 to access more of their physical body as they are playing. What I perceive is that I have filled my torso with air, that I'm using the air from my abdomen, from around my belly button region, that I'm accessing all of that air to play the oboe. And no matter how high I go, no matter where I voice the sound, which is a different question, often I will talk about voicing high notes up in my forehead or up at the crown of my head. Sometimes I'll talk about voicing in my chest or voicing in my lower abs. But I perceive that the air fills my whole body. But when people then go to pick up the English horn, it's not that different, right? It's not that much bigger than an oboe, but somehow the English horn feels like a real instrument that needs some real air. And almost always when I coach an oboe player playing English horn, we talk about finding air lower down. So if I use my oboe air, the oboe air that I just used to play that G major scale on the oboe, it's okay. It sounds okay on the English horn. But what if there were more air that I could offer? What I imagine when I play the English horn is a bubble, a barrel of air surrounding me down in the lower hips region. I imagine that I am a much more pear-shaped person than I actually am. And I draw air from all the way around my body, all the way around my hips. And I try to sink as deep as I can into my torso to where I'm almost, not really, right? This is metaphorical, but almost playing with my pelvic floor and not with my lungs at all. And if I take that same amount of air that I just used and I apply that to the oboe, I'm blowing it up. The reed that I have cannot accommodate the quantity of air that I am using for the English horn. Isn't that interesting? They're almost the same instrument, but they're not quite the same instrument, and they respond really differently. So I have someone in my program right now coming from being primarily an English horn player and trying to bring focus more to the oboe. And we're talking a lot about how do we nuance the air? How do we keep from just accessing all of that glorious air all around you in the room, how do we instead use an amount of air that is moderated? Now, I talk about supporting the air from down here or using all of the big muscles in my core to make the air happen, but control the air from up here somewhere. I talk about allowing something to funnel the air and filter the air before it actually gets to the oboe. And I think primarily those are our intercostal muscles. Those might be some of the muscles in our throat, which is not me telling you to play with a tight throat. In some situations, it's the tongue that is helping to manage this, but I don't want the reed to be the thing that is managing the air. I don't want my embouchure to be the thing that is managing the air. Those things are delicate. Those things wear out fast. Those things are not equipped to handle the amount of air I have in my grown-up adult body. So more what I think about is a valve inside me, pushing up from down here and down from up here. I talk with people sometimes about taking a metaphorical step back from the oboe so that they're not blowing just right up against the pressure of the reed, right up against the pressure of their mouth, but rather blowing and using the larger, more efficient muscles in their body to manage it. Bet you really wish I would get that water out, but I'll get to it later. And on the English horn, we don't have to do as much of that nuancing. This instrument acts like an actual instrument, like I imagine a saxophone or a clarinet must feel. You get to just use your air. And if you are an oboist who is picking up the English horn for the first time, you are not used to using that kind of air. So find more, find lower, find deeper air. If you are an English hornist picking the oboe back up, find ways to manage the air so that it doesn't all just come flooding out at the reed. I hope that this has been helpful. This has been a 5-Minute Reedmaker lesson. You can follow these short videos here on YouTube. You can subscribe if you wish. I hope you will. And if you need to reach me to order reeds or cane or a copy of my book, The Happiest Musician, or to reach me to ask a question that I can answer in a future 5-Minute Reedmaker episode, you can find me at jennetingle.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.